difficult
just
to
cut them
open
out
up,
manually.
so don't start hacking as soon as I start talking.
Okay.
So from the
I'm trying to figure something out. I've got nothing open other than this screen.
the flap,
But I got a little distracted.
And
this
yet,
is the width
there's a previous live
of your signatures.
playing.
5.5 inches.
And I don't know where.
Got 3 inches on the flap. And then
Exactly,
these
Sam.
have
It almost sounds like I have 2 different lives playing somehow. Or 3, if you count the one that I'm in.
you're going to take your height
while I'm
and
doing
divide
this,
it by
do you want to
5.
come up on panel and talk about
Yep.
that?
I have Wednesday and Thursday playing somehow in the background.
And cut that into 5 different tabs. 3 on one,
Sensory thing that
2 on
we
the
were
other.
talking about? Or do you want to just mention it in chat?
This side gets set aside for now.
So
Okay, I don't know what I don't know what the heck is going on here.
3 tabbies get set aside
hard
for now.
to see because again, where my camera is placed.
And like I said,
Let me go
doing
into
a
my
little bit of craziness
dashboard.
going here.
I'm gonna mute for a sec while I figure this out. Okay, I have no idea. That is the most strangest things ever. Yeah, I only have 3 tabs up on my screen. I've got StreamYard open. I have my 2 articles about chronic fatigue syndrome. My other browser is not open. YouTube was not open. Cannot figure out for the life of me how it was playing a live from 3 Wednesdays ago and yesterday's live simultaneously while this live stream started. That is the most bizarre thing. I removed myself from the stream. That didn't work. I actually had to completely exit the studio and come back in to get it to stop. Bizarre. Have never experienced that before. I mean, not that I've been doing this forever, but still, that was crazy. And as much as it bugs me to like hear myself, like when I'm doing the crafty ones, I have my phone like right here. And for whatever reason, it won't turn the volume completely down. So I always kind of hear a little bit of myself off to my left. And so it really, if you could see me on camera, you'll see me making faces at my phone because I'm like, shut up. So I can hear myself and it distracts me because it's, obviously it's delayed. So I hear myself and then I hear myself again. But that was absolutely weird. I have no idea. I have no idea how that happened. So anyway, welcome to Physio Friday. There's a couple people, looks like, hanging out in the bushes, just kind of watching. Welcome. Today's topic is chronic fatigue syndrome. It's pretty self-explanatory in the name. It's being chronically fatigued. But in reality, hi Willow, how are you? There's not, blame it on the rain, blame it on the Wi-Fi. Yeah, I was having a hard time connecting in the first place. And then when it finally connected, it connected in like, I don't know, it was really weird. And it's still tripping me out. It'll probably spin around in my head a few more times before before I stay completely focused. Yeah, chronic fatigue. And the name, it is what the name implies. It's being chronically fatigued. And it's more, fatigue is more than just being sleepy or more than just being tired. Fatigued is like beyond that, almost to a level where it's out of your control, whether you're going to sleep. And chronic fatigue also affects other aspects, excuse me, of the body. It causes it results in mental health. It affects your physical health. I mean, it messes with your whole being in a constant state of fatigue. I was diagnosed or you can tell, yeah, after toward the end of the live, you can share as well as your experience that you just had. Yeah, she's having Minnie's having all kinds of paranormal stuff and weird stuff going on at her house right now. But so I was diagnosed first with insomnia when I was 17, and it has been an issue, obviously my whole life because it's not like I'm only 20. And then, but I've dealt with it. Nothing has worked. We've tried all kinds of prescription medications for insomnia. I've tried herbal medicines. I've tried homeopathic sleep teas, not drinking caffeine, going completely off caffeine. I've tried everything under the sun. And nothing really has fully had an effect on my insomnia. I go through waves. In fact, I just kind of came out of a pretty big wave of insomnia that I hadn't actually experienced it in quite a long time. To that degree, I usually my pattern for the last like 5 years or so has been I go about 3 days where I just can't sleep. and then I just do a full body crash, and then I'll have normal sleep pattern for a couple days, and then it starts the cycle all over again. The chronic fatigue syndrome, I want to say, came in that was after. Let me think about that a sec. So it was when I was a student going to college. And I was having a whole bunch of different testings done because there were 3 different occasions where I was booking across campus from one class to the next, and I got dizzy and passed out. So that I was doing a whole bunch of tests to try to figure out what was causing that. And part of all of that testing, chronic fatigue syndrome, came into my medical chart. Which to some degree doesn't make sense. Sorry, my heater's over here. I'm like, suddenly I'm like really warm. It's probably because my hair's not in a ponytail like normal. It's like, well, of course I'm tired all the time. I hardly ever sleep. But that's kind of where things get confusing for me because excuse me. The diagnosis for chronic fatigue, one of the main criteria is that there is no other medical explanation to explain it. So if I experience insomnia, then I do have a medical condition that explains my fatigue. So it doesn't necessarily make sense that I have the diagnosis, but it is there. There's a couple other rabbit holes that I'm diving down. I've gotten some information through some of these lives that has kind of like got some wheels spinning in my head for me to research and to talk to my medical people about. But I will say, so I'll kind of go over. No, Willow. We talked about that a couple was it last Friday when I did the aphantasia, if you remember right. I'd struggle with meditation simply because I don't get the images in my head to help me relax and take myself off the hamster wheel. I can't, it's runs all the time, and I can't relax my brain enough to get into a deeper meditation that is purposeful, I guess, or is effective. I don't know what the word I'm looking there for. Oh, cool. Set up a 24-hour cam. Yeah. Because it's really weird. Just all of a sudden, she's having like major activity at her house. I mean, it's happened since she's moved in there, but it's been very sporadic. And it's like the last 3 days, it's just bam, 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 bam. Makes me a little freaked out that I'm spending the night there. I'm spending the weekend there. So yeah. And I do deep breathing. I did learn some breathing techniques in dealing with the anxiety and the panic attacks. But I've not tried deep breathing exercise. I haven't transferred those skills over into seeing if it would help me sleep. I don't know. One of the dives that I did go down has led me into a testing phase of something, and it it works sometimes, but not all the time. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a placebo effect going in or what. Yeah, I mean it's full on raining here. Woke up this morning and it was super, super windy, which was great because, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. With the wind, I know the rain always follows it here. But the wind blew the smoke and the haze out, but it blew the rain in. And so now, I mean, now it's just raining like a mofo out there. And hear it hitting on my my roof, not on my ceiling. Um, so let me share my screen and we'll go over the chronic fatigue stuff. It doesn't help that in order to share my screen, I also have to be on Chrome, which I've said many times. For whatever reason, my laptop and Chrome do not get along. Make this bigger. I wonder. How do you zoom your screen? Does anybody know? So brightness. Thought maybe I'd get lucky and it would just be a right click. I'm sure there's a control key that helps you zoom in. Thought maybe I could make it bigger. Woohoo! See, I only have one bar on my Wi-Fi. Connection is unstable. Ah, yay. So chronic fatigue syndrome is a complicated disorder characterized by extreme fatigue that lasts for at least 6 months and cannot be fully explained by an underlying medical condition. And that's why I was saying earlier where it confuses me that, you know, I do have insomnia. I was diagnosed with it a long, long time ago. So I do have a medical condition that seems like it would fully explain why I'm tired all the time, but who knows? And that fatigue worsens with physical or mental activity, and it does not improve with rest. So you sleep, you wake up, and you're still just as tired. Other characteristics include sleep that is not refreshing, difficulty with memory, focus, and concentration, dizziness that worsens with moving from lying down or sitting to standing. So that's POTS, post something. Oh, what does it stand for? Post orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, something like that. Has to do with a sudden change in your blood pressure when you change positions. Makes you dizzy. The cause of chronic fatigue is unknown, although there are many theories. But some experts believe chronic fatigue syndrome can be triggered by a combination of factors. So the symptoms of CFS, fatigue, duh. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? Problems with memory or concentration, sore throat, headaches, enlarged lymph nodes in your neck or armpits, unexplained muscle or joint pain, dizziness that worsens when moving, unrefreshing sleep, and extreme exhaustion after physical or mental exercise. So for me, I feel it's kind of a double whammy because I get really fatigued anyway, just from the chronic pain. So, and I have COVID fatigue as well. So it's kind of a juggle. I'm juggling three different, balls in the air going, okay, how bad is this fatigue going to be after this activity? And which fatigue is causing it? Is it the pain fatigue, the body just crashing because I overworked myself? Is it the chronic fatigue that is kicking in because I did some physical activity? Or is it the COVID fatigue because I dared to breathe too deeply and my body said, kiss my butt, I'm going to sleep? it's always hard to really know that for me, I'm sure. And, as it would be for anybody that has multiple things that cause sleep problems. They're nice, just obnoxious. Yeah. So far, they've just been obnoxious little spirits. When I was talking about when came back on Wednesday, and I was talking about being up in Leavenworth, we walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked. But we would go into town. I say into town. The hotel, the Icicle Resort that we stayed at, is on like the very edge of town. And so when we would go into downtown Leavenworth, we would be down there for, several hours, just kind of walking around, checking out the shops, eating lunch or eating dinner or whatever. And I'd get back to the hotel room and just absolutely crash. My daughter-in-law was laughing and teasing me. She goes, "You got into some of the strangest positions in your sleep." She goes, "There were times that I was wondering how you could even breathe, because the way your face was positioned into the mattress or into the pillow." And I'm like, I don't know. I was out cold. And it took me until literally Wednesday morning to really kind of even sort of feel okay, tired wise. Physically, I still hurt from last weekend. My TENS unit and my heat pad on my bed and my heat pad over on my couch have been my best friends this week. Trying to loosen up all of this tension. And it's not even just, it would be nice if it'd be like, oh yeah, my legs hurt because I walk so much. No, I have like serious cankles because my leg from, hips down are retaining massive amounts of fluid. And part of that is, when they're talking about on the, the fatigue stuff, when they were talking about this enlarged lymph nodes in your neck and armpits, our lymphatic system is what helps with this drainage. And so mine is compromised, obviously, because I'm retaining a lot of fluid. In fact, when I drive to my daughter's house, I probably will just put my flip-flops on, because I'm a little afraid of how tight my socks are going to be on my feet and around my ankles, because they're very, very, very swollen. My lower back still hurts in between my shoulder blades. My shoulders still hurt. My neck definitely hurts. So I'm still feeling a lot of the physical effects of walking around last weekend. But fatigue, I mean, it's a bear. And I think when I really look at where I'm at now with my fatigue compared to where I was a year ago, I almost feel like the COVID fatigue is finally resolving itself. Because at least I can stay awake. And for the most part, I can control. It's like, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to go lay down and take a nap, versus face planting onto my desk. And that's when I realized I fell asleep, which is what was happening to me at work all the time. I'd be, sitting at my computer, typing up something, and then I would just pass out. And I wouldn't even always wake up. A lot of times I would be face down on my desk, and I would wake up to my supervisor knocking on my door asking me if I was okay, because she'd been calling me and Skyping me on my computer, and I wasn't hearing none of it because I was out cold. And I'm not experiencing that anymore. Some of that could be because I'm actually, for the most part, I'm sleeping to my own circadian rhythm. So I'm sleeping a little bit better than I was when I was working. Some of it could be, like I said, that the COVID fatigue is actually finally resolved, after 2 years of dealing with it. It's really kind of hard to say, I think, of course, I'm not a doctor, so all I can really do is pay attention to my body and what is going on and make adjustments that work for me in my life. If you've watched any of my Friday lives, you'll know that I don't have a whole lot of faith in my primary care doctor. So when I'm Googling stuff, if I come across it, I actually will call my best friend who's a nurse before I will call my doctor to ask questions. I actually trust her a little bit more. But yeah, so when do you see your doctor if you have fatigue? Is if the symptoms become intrusive. If it's now interfering with your life, kind of like what I was saying at work, you're suddenly like falling asleep. I actually passed out. I fell asleep while I was walking down the hallway at work one day. And yeah, since there was nobody to see it, there's really no clear understanding if did I pass out or did I just like fall asleep. But the last thing I remember was blinking. And then the next thing I remember is people shaking me and asking me if I was okay. And I wasn't like laid out flat like you would expect from somebody to pass out, or, with their arms down beside, or, outstretched like they tried to catch themselves. I was curled up in the fetal position, total, which leads me to think that no, I actually fell asleep rather than passing out. But who knows? to be honest, there's really no way of knowing. So causes, like I said before, there's many different theories. Viral infections are probably, autoimmune diseases, viral infections, well, infections in general, but especially viral infections are among the top when your doctor's looking at chronic fatigue. Not just, and they're not, remember, it has to be for 6 months. So at least 6 months. So not just, oh, I got the flu, which we know is a virus. And now I'm tired. It's chronic. It's not acute viral infections. It's chronic viral infections. So like they're saying here, suspicious viruses include the Epstein-Barr virus, human herpes virus 6, and things of that nature. While there is not a conclusive link, there is, again, that's that correlation does not equal causation. Immune problems, so autoimmune diseases can also lead to chronic fatigue, which makes sense. If your body is constantly in a state of fight or flight because it's dealing with all of these issues, it makes sense that it's going to get tired. Hormonal imbalances. Hello, there's me again. And then physical or emotional trauma. Yeah. Risk factors, age and sex, which is interesting. Diagnosis and treatment. And this was really funny because when I had my sleep study done, he was expecting to get like, this much data because, I've had this conversation with him that I go through these periods where I absolutely don't sleep. I'm like, oh, I better just stop back over and make sure I'm not missing any comments. But literally, I got my machine, whatever you want to call it, to do my sleep study. and I slept, and it was right at the end of one of those runs, and I like slept for like 18 hours. um so it didn't even record because the battery died during that first sleep, because it had been on so long. And I had to change the batteries to do a second night's sleep. um he was just like, wow, I wasn't expecting that kind of a test that kind of a test result. But it was just kind of a, yeah, I was like, I told you, when my body says it's time to sleep, I just go, and I will go an entire day not waking up. I don't wake up to go to the bathroom. I don't wake up to eat. I don't wake up for nothing. I sleep an entire day away. Um, yeah, the sleep study, that's a whole other that's a whole other subject. So again, is your chronic fatigue so severe that it interferes with the ability to engage in activities? Is it new? Is it not alleviated by rest? And is it worsened by physical, mental, or emotional exertion? If you're answering yes to any of that, please go see your doctor. And if you don't trust your primary care doctor, go on the same path that I'm on and try to find a new one. Because if you're one of the lucky people that does respond to interventions for chronic fatigue, there's no reason for you to have to live in a state of chronic fatigue. You can also have difficulties with memory, focus, concentration, which makes a whole lot of sense to me. One of my longest runs, what? Just popped back over to the chat and went, what? One of my longest runs of insomnia was actually 11 days long. Sam was, she was just an infant, maybe 3 months old. So keep in mind, I was a stay-at-home mom. I had 2 toddlers and an infant. And yet I could not sleep. Could not get to sleep. Drove me crazy because my father-in-law would be like, why don't you just go to bed? I'm like, oh my God, if it was that easy. If it was just that easy, don't you think I would do it? But over the course of those 11 days, because I wasn't getting recuperative sleep, I wasn't getting adequate oxygen flow to the brain. I wasn't getting the recuperation. I wasn't getting the rejuvenation to my brain. And I lost my ability to speak. I started hallucinating. I was seeing and hearing things that didn't exist. But the really scary part of that was that I also couldn't formulate a real sentence. So as I'm seeing and hearing things that was scaring the hell out of me, I couldn't even verbalize it because the words that were coming out of my mouth might as well have been spoken by a 6-month-old. Nothing, nothing was making sense. I couldn't formulate full sentences. Yes, my genes suck. I am sorry. I am sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're welcome. You're welcome. Brain. I got distracted. Anyway, I might come back around to it. Some medications that can work for chronic fatigue, depression medications. And that's a double-edged sword because being chronically fatigued can cause depression and depression can cause chronic fatigue. So it's kind of a double whammy. So treating that, may help with your sleep, taking an antidepressant. Medications to help regulate blood pressure or heart palpitations, over-the-counter pain medications. This is kind of interesting because Cymbalta is one of the medications that I take, and gabapentin is the other medicine that I take every single day for the neuropathy in my legs. So it's interesting that I take those, and that's the deeper dive, the test, quote unquote, the test that I was talking about earlier, that I was talking about, that I'm testing the theory out, is because stimulants used to work really well for me with helping me sleep. At some point, I can't even track when, but at some point that stopped being effective. But after a conversation with another creator and some deep dives of my own, I started taking note whether or not my sleep patterns were different on the nights that I had forgotten to take my medication. I still drink coffee. I mean, regardless, I drink coffee all the way up until I go to bed. Because again, that keeps my mind from really racing with the ADHD. But like I said, it stopped helping. I used to be able to drink a really strong cup of coffee at the end of the night, and it would knock me out. And at some point that stopped working. But like I said, I started taking note on the nights that I forget to take my medication. Does that coincide with the nights that the coffee doesn't work? Because this other content creator also has ADHD and was talking about with her doctor taking a combination of a stimulant as well as medication that helps that causes drowsiness. So I'm like, stimulant, and so I started, I looked up my own medications. I'm like, oh, well, they both have sedative properties. So let's start with that. Well, so I started making a more concerted effort to not forget to take my medications, which is absolutely stupid because I'm sitting right here every night when my alarm goes off and my medications are sitting right there. Right there, within arm's reach. And yet, I can't even tell you. I mean, probably at least 4 out of 7 days in a week, I forget to take them. The alarm goes off, I hit the alarm, and within seconds, I have forgotten all about them, and I forget to take them. That's why they're in here, because this is where I'm at when that alarm goes off. But like, I digress. Like I said, I've been trying to make a more concerted effort to not forget to take them, and to see if, so I can watch. Is that helping? That when I do take my medications, almost locked yourself out of your own house. Don't do that. When I do remember to take my medication and drink that last cup of coffee at night, do I actually sleep? And do I sleep better? The answer is still out. Because on the nights that I forget to take my medication, it'll be like 4 a.m. by the time I'm like finally rolling into bed. But I'll sleep for 7 hours without a problem. On the nights that I remember to take my medication, I wake up after like 4 and then I can't get back to sleep. And I fall asleep a lot earlier. When I take my medication, when my alarm goes off, and I drink that last cup of coffee, by midnight, I'm starting to get tired, and by 1 o'clock, I'm asleep. Versus 4 if I don't, or if I forget to take my meds. So I don't know. Is it a good plan? Is it not a good plan? I don't really know yet. Still figuring, still playing that out. So chronic fatigue syndrome, or COVID fatigue syndrome, sorry, aka the pandemic fatigue, has been studied as part of COVID long haul. But even that goes, that fatigue is even worse than your straight up chronic fatigue. That is the fatigue that I always described as, debilitating, uncontrolled, involuntary. And it didn't take much. I mean, just getting up and doing, a load of dishes or a couple loads of laundry used to be enough that I would then require several hours of sleep afterward because it would just wear me out. And I'm not experiencing that anymore. That's why I was saying I'm thinking that finally, after 2 years, the COVID fatigue might have finally alleviated itself, relieved itself, excused itself from my life. Which gives me a little bit of hope that maybe some of my other COVID long haul symptoms might start going away. Like, be nice to get full taste and smell back. I do still miss that. I don't know if the organ damage is going to be permanent. I don't know if the vision damage is going to be permanent. But I guess, just like everything else that's related to COVID, only time is going to tell. So yeah, I don't know. That's all I have as far as COVID or chronic fatigue goes. I don't know who else is still listening besides Sam. So Sam, do you want to come up on panel and talk about your latest experiences? So you have to figure out like how to pin comment or pin things to the chat, and
This is actually easier because talking hands-free is possible. Typing hands-free is not.
oh duh, I guess you are driving, aren't you?
But yeah, I can do that hands-free. So, or do
For
this.
sure.
I mean hands-free. But my sound might be a little funky until I at least get parked. But
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the only way that I can explain it is exactly how I explained it to you. A couple months ago, maybe, we bought a intercom system for my house, and it's just two little things that connect only to each other. I actually had to ask my husband about that. Like, do they only connect to each other, or do they work over the radio like walkie-talkies? And he's like, no, they only connect to one another. I'm like, okay, but it's still possible to get some sort of interference. So every now and then, we'll just be sitting somewhere and we'll just hear that interference, and it's just like, and it's only for a couple of seconds, and then it stops. And we all just kind of look at each other and joke and laugh, and it's like, oh, it's the ghost trying to talk to us again. But in order to make that sound manually, somebody has to go downstairs into the basement, push and hold the talk button long enough for it to register that somebody is pushing and holding the button, and then it'll make that staticky noise when you're about to talk. So it, from sitting and listening to the one upstairs by my microwave, it became a running joke that somebody's down in the tea room just messing with us and whatever. But we kind of chalked it up to some sort of interference from the neighbors or something. It's not consistent enough to be an every day, a daily thing. So, you know, somebody driving by or the neighbor just turned their TV on or something, always chalked it up to that. But today, I was sitting in my craft room, which is, I don't know, a good 20, 30 feet away from where we usually sit when we hear it. And it rang, like, legitimately rang like a telephone, like an office phone. And that tripped me out because my dog started barking, my bird started barking, because
your bird started barking?
Yep, because he's a doggy doorbell, just like the dogs.
But usually he doesn't go off until Daddy walks through the door.
Yeah. So for the two dogs and the bird to be freaking out at the same time, I'm like, okay, something's a little funky here. And I was sending videos to my mom, and I was like, oh yeah, it's got a call feature. It's got a button right on there that makes a telephone noise. And I pushed it, and it wasn't the same telephone noise. It was a different noise. And I wish that I was recording, because I mean, goosebumps from top of the head to tip of the toe. But it also made me laugh, made me smile. It's like, that's funny, cool. Yeah, that was that experience. But the one that I was like, I don't know, I'll tell you after the live or whatever. Just for shits and gigs, because that's what I do. I popped on my one of my spirit boxes, because, you know, it's me. Yes, you can get unbuckled. We're stopped. Popped on one of my spirit boxes, and it was just kind of nonsense for a while. But after I had said something like, who's fucking with my intercom, just being goofy, whatever, and it said niece. And I'm like, what? It didn't make any sense, but it said the word niece. It did not make any sense. But then I turned on a different spirit box that I had, and the first freaking thing that came out was, I love you, and then like 7 words later, it said, it's me, and then like 5 words after that, it said Michael, and then it turned off. My phone turned off. Not powered down, but the app closed.
Huh.
So I'm like, bro, this whole freaking time that we've been hearing this dang intercom come off, if it is your dad or your brother, I'm going to start smacking some ghost bitches, because you can just come talk to me. And especially if I find out one of them is who unplugged my coffee pot, we're going to have some words. But it makes sense though, because it's not like evil, it's not bad, there's not a bad vibe, like it feels like a very subtle, humble, like goofy kind of feeling in a way.
No.
That if this was my family, if this was your brother or your dad, it would make sense why they're just playing these stupid, petty little jokes
No.
Yeah,
You know,
my dad was a big coffee drinker, though. I don't think he'd mess with somebody else's coffee.
Yeah, but it would make sense if it was, you know, even John. I know I mentioned John in the other video, but I didn't explain John. John was kind of my wake-up call because I'd always had like these supernatural encounters, and it's like whatever. It was always chalked up to something, and I always believed other people for some reason. But when I moved into the first house I lived in, well, I guess technically the second house I lived in Walla Walla, I was getting like these really, really odd vibes. And I constantly felt like somebody was watching me, and I was feeling something like touch my arm or my hair or something throughout the day and whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's just all these stupid things that people told me it was. But then, you know, again, out of joking curiosity, it's like, you know, who is it? You know, who keeps opening my cabinets? Why are you leaving my fridge door open? It's getting on my nerves. You need to close my damn fridge. And in my head, I just got this overwhelming urge to say, "Hi, John." And that same voice in my head said, "It's John." So I just on a whim, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna start calling him John, so I have something to call him. And it was actually you. I went to your house and I was telling you about it, and you're like, "Oh, have you ever looked up the, you know, death records?" Because I knew that there was a gentleman who had died on the property.
Yeah, you were here.
And I was like, yeah, but his name wasn't John. He had like a foreign immigrant name or something. But when I looked him up, John was his middle name. So if he was an immigrant of some sort, most of the time when they moved over to the U.S., they changed their names.
Mm-hmm.
So he could have very well been John. They, you know, type of thing. And that, I think John followed me, which is fine because he's a nice dude, but creepy old guy. I've talked to his wife, Catherine, a couple times. She's not so nice. She's not mean. She's just not nice.
If
Like
anybody's messing with your coffee, it's probably John, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
You know, because he was always messing with your coffee over at the other house too.
True.
The
swish swish scared you?
What's
yeah,
scared?
that's true. The windshield wipers.
Oh.
But it's like, I think it's because I'm excited. Because spooky season, like I was telling David, October is the one time that I have where I could be my true spooky bitch self and nobody bats an eyelash.
Right.
So I go all out. Like, I'm obsessed with Halloween. I love supernatural stuff and paranormal stuff. I am obsessed with this kind of stuff. Dark, morbid, all of it. But October is that free pass. And I think they're taking advantage of that. Whether it's the family members, John, or whoever is messing with me. I think they're excited that I'm excited. You're like, hey, finally, somebody who appreciates our presence.
I was looking to see if Sophie put up her, scheduled her video yet, but it doesn't look like she has yet. She's going to be talking about aliens.
Ah, that's what I voted for.
Tonight on her. Me too.
Great minds think alike.
So yeah, she hasn't scheduled it yet, so I have no idea what time she's going to do it.
Get on it, Sophie.
So hopefully, hopefully I'm not in the middle of driving when it starts, but if it
Bubby,
is,
you're not going to be able to see a shooting star right now.
Oh.
I can always catch it on replay if, because it's 5 o'clock.
Well, and I mean, you probably listen to it, because a lot of the times, with your lives, I just set you in my cup holder and you're on my Bluetooth. and I just listen to you. I just can't type, obviously.
Yeah, it would just depend on, the Wi-Fi, though, is not usually very good between here and there.
True.
Because I've even tried to
Yeah.
play, like, games and stuff, and it always cuts out on me.
True. Yeah, my data too. It's only been in the last couple of months that all of a sudden my phone just decided it wasn't going to work the way it's supposed to. My data stopped working. I have to reset my phone probably a good 3-4 times a week. And it's not old because, a lot of people are like, oh, you're hitting your 2-year mark. Ha ha ha. It's not a joke. Okay. I work for a phone company. It is a thing. It's not what everybody thinks it is, but it is a thing. Your phone is designed to shit out once your contract ends. That is a legitimate thing.
It's built-in obsolescence.
Something. But my phone is barely a year old. Like, it's not even halfway paid off, which means it's less than a year old. And then all of a sudden, like, my screen will go black and it won't turn back on. Or my volume button now doesn't work. So I have to take my case off to use my volume buttons, which is annoying. But even then, if I click once on the volume down button, it'll turn my volume all the way down. And my volume crashed. I don't know how to explain that. I got the error notification that said adaptive volume has stopped working, close app or wait. And I've never in my life of working with phones or having phones have I ever seen that. So apparently whoever's messing with me likes my phone. But, because I was going to make a joke about electricity. But that's when I was, Jesus, shut up. My phone's going off. When I was talking about the intercoms, I was thinking about this last night. Spirits, ghosts, demons, whatever you want to call them, love electricity. Yeah, that's a common thing amongst the general public. Hold on, I'm talking. Okay, just go ahead and talk.
Hi.
Paranormal beings love electricity. More specifically, they love things that conduct or create electricity, such as flowing water. One intercom, the intercom in the basement, is less than 10 feet away from our well and our hot water tank, or well pressure thingy, and our hot water tank, which has water moving in the pipes constantly. And it's directly underneath the bathroom, which is gross as that is to think about. There's constant moving water going right above it, too. The intercom that is upstairs is less than a foot away from the kitchen sink. So we put both of our intercoms right next to constant electricity. It's like, oh, maybe that's why you're getting the interference. But the thing is, it's not consistent. Those intercoms never move. So if it was just the electricity of whatever they're sitting on or by, it would be doing it all the time, all day, every day. And it's just,
yeah.
Yeah. How are you going to drink that? There's nothing in it.
Because she's Mina.
I'm going to have to send Grandma a picture of your new coat.
No.
You hear me?
Nah.
I hear you.
You are sitting with me. What do you mean? No, you're not sitting in my lap. Last time you did that, you honked the horn and scared the parking lot.
Oh, my goodness.
I just see the lady in the car in front of us looking in a rear view mirror like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's the lady top.
It's like, I'm not moving. What are you honking at me for? We're parked.
Uh-huh. I'm just like, sorry. I know.
Well, it's kind of the probably very similar, slightly less When I had to like try not to get hit when your daughter grabbed some stranger's butt.
She's got good taste. I don't know what to tell you.
Mom, this is the
I'm raising a warrior. She knows what she wants and how to get it.
Apparently. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream so I can get packed and head your direction.
All right, make sure to drive safe because the rain and stuff.
Yeah, and I have to stop and get gas. You know, there goes another $100. But so make sure you hit the like on the way out. My replay crew. My replay crew, hit the thumbs up.
You're supposed
I'm
to
gonna
say
leave
yes.
I'm not gonna be home for the weekend, and I'm leaving my laptop at home, so I will not be doing any lives until Monday. I'm not sure what topic I'm gonna cover on Monday.
Hey, Mina, you want to do Grandma a favor? Can you say like and subscribe?
Subscribe and hit the bell.
Say, Mina, well, hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
There you go.
All right, I'll see you in a couple hours.
All right, drive safe.
Will do. Peace out, y'all.
What's the birdie?
Bye.